Hi, welcome to BikeGremlin YouTube channel. I'm Radanovic, and today I will try to show what I would call a quick and dirty way to replace a broken spoke. And before I go with that, I will explain also some other things, and I will also explain when it makes sense to replace a broken spoke and when it's better to relace the whole wheel. And so we will begin. This video, like all of my videos, has a table of contents. It's visible in the video's description, and it will also be visible on the timeline when you hover your mouse, so that you can easily skip to the parts of interest. This is generally what I will be talking about, and probably what that table of contents will look like when I finish uploading and editing the video. And the first section, this will be called introduction, and all the important links to articles and other videos that I mention will also be put in the video's description, so that even those people who use ad blockers can watch it on YouTube and on Rumble. I upload to both platforms, so no problems with that. And also I have a BikeGremlin.com website for information where you can use search and find all the videos and articles. And I also have a BikeGremlin.net forum, which is best for questions and answers, because YouTube is awful when it comes to that. Finally, I always forgot to mention that people, or often, people who wish to support my work can do so by using paid channel subscriptions, or support me via Patreon when you go to patreon.com/bikegremlin, or to ko-fi.com/bikegremlin for one-time donations. So any kind of help is, of course, very helpful, because I'm making this is a hobby and non-profit, so for buying any better recording and even tools and similar recording equipment, I mean that kinds of donations are of course important, and that's what makes the difference. So thank you very much for the people who are supporting my work at the moment. So now, after this first introduction, let us begin. First, this is my bicycle, and it has a 36 spoke wheel. And why are 36 spokes awesome? This is not the first time I've seen this, when a spoke breaks on a wheel that has 36 or more spokes, which is becoming more and more difficult to find nowadays. You can see that I could ride without problems for many kilometers before I sat down to fix this. So this wheel has a very slight wobble right now, but it's nothing that even rubs. It's not even rubbing the rim brakes, and the same is experienced with the road bicycle rim brakes that are even closer to the rim. If you have 36 spokes and a well-built wheel, it's not too much of a problem. I will try to see and show it. I hope you can see the part where this rim goes out of true, and that is the place here. Just missed it, this section, and that is where the broken spoke is. The rest of the wheel is okay. So 36 spokes are awesome indeed, and that's the first thing that I wanted to discuss. And now, before we move on, I will discuss briefly roadside repairs. If you have a broken spoke, in this case, and not for the first time, I got away without touching anything. I could hear the spoke do ping, and just went on riding and did several other stuff, groceries and whatnot, until I could find the time with my friend to record the video. I wanted to use this opportunity. But in some cases, especially when you have fewer spokes, or depending on which spoke breaks on which side, you might risk spoke getting into other things and causing further problems, like getting into the derailleur or similar. So it's not a bad idea to take your broken spoke and twist it around one or two other spokes, just to make sure that it is in place until you can remove it or replace it. It's that's about it for doing replacing spokes that are on the side where the cassette is. You will most probably need to remove the cassette. And for disc brakes, you need to remove the disc. Now, Unior made tool like this, I will put a link in the video description, and I will not be taking too much time to show it now, but this is what it looks like. I use this old tube, but this is what the tool looks like when you place it into the between the frame and the cassette, and this works then catches against the frame so that it doesn't turn, and then when you pedal forward your cassette lock ring gets unscrewed, and when you pedal backwards you tighten it, you screw it in. For the disc brakes, of course, you don't need to even use pedals if you have that same locking system for the disc brake. Some have that outer center lock system, but those that use this kind of system will fit, and you can get away with the tool that's small like this, and it has even a spoke or a nipple, a wrench. So it's pretty handy tool. It goes without saying that I get 10% of each one sold worldwide, because my acts will not pay for themselves. So I carry this in my roadside repair kit, and it's good for people who ride with very few spokes, so that you can give them a hand and help them when they have a problem by the side of the road, if they happen to be carrying spare spokes, which almost never happens with people who have very few spokes, while people who do touring and similar stuff and usually or sometimes or often carry spare spokes, they usually ride bikes and wheels with more spokes, so it's not that urgent to do a replacement on the roadside. While for few spoked wheels you can compensate for a broken spoke. Let's move camera here so that you can see more easily what I'm talking about. I'll try to add this for contrast. So here we have one spoke that's broken. It's this one. We'll move the camera to the inside so you can see it more better, but this is the broken spoke. So this spoke is from the right hand side flange, and it's pulling the rim towards you, towards camera. So since it is broken, I would need to loosen the adjacent two spokes from the left hand side so that the rim comes back to be more centered. But I cannot loosen them too much. If they become loose, then they will start unscrewing and I will get even more problems. And so it's not a bad idea to tighten. Let's move the camera to this side, because that way it will be easier to follow what I'm talking about. Let's try to catch it all from this side. I will move the rim here. Here we can see all the spokes. So we have this broken spoke. Now these two come from the left hand side. I can loosen them. So since they are now pulling with all their strength and tension, and this one is lost, the rim is now pulled to this side. So if I release some tension, loosen them by half a turn or similar, the rim will come back a bit. Now I cannot do that too much because these are already loose on rear wheels because of the asymmetry of the rear wheel. So extra step is to, in addition to that, tighten the other two outwards spokes from the right hand side to compensate a bit. So it will not be a perfectly true wheel with the even spoke tension of all the spokes from one side, because we are compensating for one spoke that is broken. So in a similar way that some men buy very big motorcycles, but I digress. So that's the way to get yourself to reach a bicycle shop or to replace a spoke if you don't have one to do on the road when that happens. And it especially helps with wheels that have only 28 or fewer spokes. Then those problems can be drastic, or if you have several spokes broken, not just one. Another thing I did mention, bicycle wheel construction and similar there with I'll put a link with bicycle wheel building basics in the video description with the article, and that has links to all the things. But to just quickly show, if we catch camera from this angle now, I will show you that on the rear wheel we have a very wide area for the cassette, and this is where the flange can start, and on the left hand we have the spokes that can come further out. So these spokes that come on the left hand side have a better bracing angle, and so they are usually a lot less tight in order to keep the rim between the the frames dropouts. And so that creates a lot of problems, especially with modern 11-speed road cassettes and 12-speed that take even wider, and they make this mismatch great. And so you have left spokes running at a very low tension, almost to the point of getting loose by themselves when all is fine, and the right hand side spokes getting crazy tension in order just to keep the rim in center. And I have a video that is titled something from memory, like how more speeds make wheels weaker, or similar like that. If I don't forget, I'll also put it in the video's description. So that's, let's see, covered. Roadside repair is covered. Now, should you replace the broken spoke or completely relace the wheel? That depends on the reason why the spoke broke. Spokes break for one of the three reasons. Generally, if I forgot something, this is YouTube, people will put it in the comments, or Rumble. So there is damage, physical damage, of course. What other kind? They don't suffer emotional damage. Then factory defect and fatigue. When you have physical damage, spokes will get visibly damaged, kinked, or some scratch marks or similar, and they may break somewhere in the middle of their length. In case the damage is fatigue or factory defect, that's different. Then they usually break at the elbow or at the nipple. This is what I mean. So if there is a factory defect, a spoke will break either at the nipple where it enters the flange. That's the most common reason, and the second most common reason is they break here because this is where it's weakened. I have a video titled How to Prevent Your Spokes from Breaking, where I discuss this in more detail and explain how you can avoid that as much as possible. And if you have one spoke broken, then it could be a factory. Take a step back. So how do you determine if there's physical damage? You will see it, but how to determine if it's factory defect or fatigue? If you have many spokes breaking, like one, then another, then a third, then it's most likely that your wheel is not properly built and the spokes are breaking from fatigue. But if you have an odd spoke breaking every year or so, it could be a factory defect, or if you have only one spoke broken and you replace it and no other spokes get broken. Another important thing to consider is how wheel is built. Are the spokes too loose? So here, let's move the camera to the wheel. You don't need to be looking at me at this point, so I will talk with my hands. So these are for the left hand sides, okay, tight enough. These are all, you can feel it after some experience to know, and you will see it takes a bit of experience, but generally when a spoke is really slack, you can feel it. So here I only have this broken spoke that's really slack on this wheel. I don't have a good example, but you can feel that when you test spokes on one side and on the opposite side. So these are on the rear wheel a lot tighter from the right hand side than the left hand side spokes, but among themselves all the right hand side spokes, are they similar tension? It's easier to use a tensiometer or to use a guitar pluck, and I lost mine since I got a tensiometer. I cannot find it here, so it's there somewhere. So you can use the sound to tell if the tension is similar, and it's easier to use a guitar pluck for that. Let me try to find mine if I haven't lost it somewhere. And yes, I know where it is. It's in my wheel building bag, so won't be bothering you with that. You know what the guitar pluck looks like, and so you can compare and see if all the right hand side spokes among each other have the same or very similar tension, and if the same goes for all the left hand side spokes, then the wheel is probably well built, and spoke breakage was probably because the spoke had a factory defect. If the tension is all over the place, or if it's similar but the tension is very low, especially on the left hand side, and you get left hand side spokes breaking, then it's probably because the wheel was not built well. If that is the case, if the spoke tension is too low or uneven, then all the spokes are most likely already fatigued, and will start breaking. When you replace one, the next one will break, and so on until you replace them all. And if you don't build the wheel properly and bring it to proper tension and even, then that will go on for as long as that wheel is being used. So the fatigue braking I already explained, but basically if the spokes are too loose, they get micro twists, micro bends, and after many revolutions that causes them to break in a similar way that it would happen if I tried to take a piece of wire and just bend it back and forth many times. So that's what I'm talking about. So this spoke was sacrificed for science. And did I forget to mention something? Yes. Also, if you have one spoke that has a very high tension and the other have lower, then that spoke with higher tension is likely to be taking more load, while the others that have low tension are more likely to be having micro twist, and either when they are not sharing all the load and when they are not properly tightened will cause them to prematurely break and have problems. Related to this topic is the question, should you reuse old spokes when you're relacing rims or wheels? And I say, if your wheels were properly built with good tension, those spokes are tried and tested, and if they had any factory defects, they would have broken before. So I think it makes perfect sense to reuse spokes. Just make sure to use the left hand side spokes, to keep them on the left hand side, and those that come from the outer side of the flange and are bent from the flange this way, that you reuse them on the outer side, and those that come from the inner side that are bent the other way on this section, the J bend spokes, are also again used on the inner side, so that you don't create any extra kinks here needlessly. You can see when you reuse the old spokes, these angles will change for those that are on the outer side compared to those that are on the inner side. The same goes for bicycles, motorcycles, whatever you are building with spokes. And so don't make yourself be the factor that contributes to that fatigue braking. So I've covered this bit and to that. If you have any extra questions, please use the BikeGremlin.net forum. Now let us move on. In this case, this bicycle's wheel is well built. The spokes have even tension. The tension is good. And as you could see in the camera, there's only one place where the rim moves a bit towards the left, and that is in that place where the right hand side spoke breaks. Lighting, camera, and dirt and imperfections in the tire can be deceiving, but if you look closely at the place where the rim brakes are approaching the rim, that's where you can see the problem. So in this case, I also know for a fact that I used cheap, low quality Chinese spokes, dirt cheap, and those are the only ones that are available to buy in my country and in my city basically. And so I am very suspicious of the fact that that spoke broke for factory defect. This bicycle sees a lot of riding with a load on the rack and on roads that are not paved, so it's off-road riding, not in the mud but in the dirt and all the dry dirt and similar, and what people call gravel. He sees a lot of that. So I suppose that I would have had many more broken spokes over the years if it were related to wheel building, but we will see. When I replace this spoke, if they keep breaking, since I'm using low quality spokes, I will still not be 100% certain if it's a factory defect or not. So that's one reason why it makes sense to spend time and energy to build wheels with high quality spokes if you can source them. Most people who watch my videos are from United States and Australia and Germany, England. That's if YouTube is not lying. So in those countries, as far as I know, there are distributors for either Sapim or DT Swiss. Swagged Sapim or DT Swiss spokes are okay. It took me a lot of time and effort to source a reasonable stock of those, and now fortunately I can use those spokes for building wheels, and I will use one of such spokes to replace it. So let's now move on to replacing the broken spoke. And in this case I will remove the wheel. I've already made videos how to remove wheel, how to remove the cassette and all those, so I'll not be going into details of that. I will just show a quick and dirty way to replace the wheel. I've already made videos on how to lace wheels and how to do everything properly and through them. So this will be a bit of a real life, quick and dirty, let's say like a roadside repair. So let us move. So in these first sections of doing things, I will not be doing much explanation because I've already made videos depicting that, so I will just get on with it. So that's first part now. Okay, so the wheel is off. Now I need to remove the cassette. I will need this, and I will need okay. Had to move things around for camera and all the other stuff that's now in the workshop. It's a bit of a fun time, so okay, this needs to go. And this is an extra long quick release needle for reasons beyond the scope of this video, but this one will not fit inside the tool. So here we are. Let's try to get this. Okay. There is the cassette. Now we can move on with the fixing the wheels, replacing the spoke. Okay. I will remove the bicycle so that it's not in the way. Move it aside. Don't try this at home. Okay, so here we are. We have the wheel, and the first thing that I want to do is to see how long is this spoke, and so that I can find the replacement. And the best way to determine that is to measure. So let's try to measure that. Okay, you can use a tape measure. That's probably the easiest way. And in this case, spoke broke at the elbow, so I can use it. I can measure it more or less accurately because you measure the spoke's length starting at the elbow. So let me show you with the ruler for that. Especially, so here is a ruler for measuring spokes, and it has at the zero the place where you can rest the spoke. This one is of course bent, but it lets you measure it. So in this case we have a spoke broken at the elbow, and there's some of it left, so I can use that to determine the exact length that I need. So the problem is that I don't know how much is beneath the nipple. Is it factory built? This was hand built by me, but so is it factory built to be a bit too long or a bit too short? So when you're replacing, you want to get the optimal length. So to determine that, you would need to remove the tire and the tube and the rim tape, and then see the situation. But in this case, I know that the length was optimal, and I know the exact length I use for this wheel. And I also could, because I know that the chosen spoke length was optimal, I know that even if I forgot and didn't write down the exact length used, I could rely on my measurement, and let's see just for fun how much this would come out to. So this is the spoke we are trying to measure. I've pulled it out all the way so it's not cheating on me in that case, and let's see, roughly about 28 centimeters, give or take, something like that. So if I use a tape measure, it can be even a bit easier. So let's see, align the 0 with the start of that elbow, the inner part of that elbow. So this is where we are measuring from, this inner part, not the outside, not the middle. So aligning this with the middle part of that elbow, and let's see. So if I align it there, I would say, if I calculate for the things that's inside here, 278 millimeters or 280. Based on this, just without removing this inside and checking it, those would be my guesses. I guess it's easier and safer to err to the side of longer, and in this case I know for a fact that it is in fact 280 millimeters. So I will take a 280 millimeters long spoke. Let's see, this is the one. So this is a high quality swagged spoke, in this case by Sapim, and I did manage after a lot of saving to come up with a nice stock so that I can build wheels and not have to waste time and energy to source spokes, and just when I get down to a certain number of a given length I can restock and life is good. So now let's see what I want to do. Let's first find the smallest spoke wrench that works, so that I don't cause any damage. Okay, so this is the smallest that works, so that's what I will be using. And now let's go back. So we have this spoke that's broken. Now in order to reuse a spoke, when you need to lace a new spoke in, so you can see how it was laced. It came from the inside, then went out beneath, and then into the nipple. That's the easier part when you have a wheel that's already finished. When the inner spoke breaks on a wheel that's already finished, that's when you run into problems, because it's a lot more difficult to thread it in. So you have to get it through the inside and then try to bend it somehow to get all the way here. But when in this case it's super easy, so we have a bit of luck, so I can just get it in and then need to get it underneath this spoke, and here we are. So that part was easy. I will now risk leaving it here just to demonstrate. So if it were not my rim, I would worry about scratching it or similar. So we have the old and the new spoke, and now I need to make sure that the old spoke is removed, and I want to be careful to not have this dropped inside, because then I will be in trouble. I would need to remove everything from the wheel and then get it done. So I would either lean it against something, not work like this on a stand, and in this case I will use some sort of a zip tie or some glue. So let's do that. So let's get this fixed. So we have our broken spoke. I want to keep it on the top there, or near the top. So hopefully I will not break this too easily. Okay, so there we have that. So the next thing that I want to do is to make sure that this is lubricated with some oil or some mounting paste, so that the nipple turns freely. And it might be a good idea, before I did this, to drop a drop of oil at the interface between the nipple and the rim when it is down there. So to drop it there so that you can more easily turn the nipple. I will leave that part for later. So what I will try to do now is to start unscrewing this spoke. So, and let's get this in place while the spoke is still engaged. Okay, so I'm unscrewing the broken spoke, and this was not a very good idea, my bad. I need some pliers. That's not a bad thing, so just in case. Okay, so let's unscrew this. We are filming, so this will probably go very wrong, as things usually happen when you're filming. So that one's out, and now I need to get this inside. So I'm bending the spoke a bit, but not too much so that it bends permanently. And I need to get this tight around the spoke. Try to turn it a bit. So what I'm doing here is, you can see here, I'm now trying to bend this spoke to let me make it artificially shorter without making a permanent kink like I did here. So if I bend it too much, I get a permanent kink, but if I bend it just a little bit, it's not that much of a problem. So what I did there is to just give myself some room to work, and I've started it, and now checking. It's laced 3 across, so over 1, over 2nd, under 3rd, that's the last one, and then into the, that's good. Now I can remove my abominable looking improvisation here. So, and we have the shiny new spoke. I didn't even bother to how do I say, to mark it, because it's super shiny new, and we should be able to see which one it is, hopefully. But the irony is that this is it. I will make my life easier by marking it, because I had problem figuring out where it was. So let's mark it for easy reference. So I will now put it down there, and let's try to use a drop of, just a drop of oil there. So let's see, release this. Okay. This is not the one I use usually, and it's almost empty now, so it's giving me a bit of a headache. This is more difficult to see, it's thinner, but this is what I want. So there it is, a bit of oil to reduce friction and reduce the probability of damaging the rim to nipple interface. So in this case, I am already starting to celebrate, just like the Serbian national football team when they get in the lead. And I hope I will not end up in the same way. So I didn't drop the nipple, I did it all, I found the optimal length spoke and everything, and now I just need to tighten it back to get the rim to be true. So all the other nipples and spokes are as they were, and they were in good condition, so I don't need to touch up anything else, just to make sure that I haven't tightened this. Let's mark it back. I want this to be clear what I'm working on, sorry. So I want to tighten it so that it doesn't, if I tighten it too much, then I will have the rim move too much this way. If I don't tighten it enough, I will have the rim still be too much that way. So I will get these back, and I flip the wheel. This is when you are riding, this is the right hand side, so it's flipped for the camera to more easily see the side that we're working on. So let's see. You can see, hopefully, let's take the light to display it better. So hope you can see that the rim gets still too far away to the left at this point. So what I need to do is to tighten this further. Okay, Now let's see what the situation is like. Okay, so I've overdone it a bit, but that's not much of a problem. I will loosen it. For an old abused wheel, beaten up, this is not bad. A quick and dirty fix. Now, of course, what I did in that video explaining wheel building, I could again show the truing and touch-up, but I will not be taking too much time on the video. I have a separate video explaining that. So the last thing to do is to take parallel pairs of spokes and squeeze them together as strongly as possible. You do this around the whole wheel, of course, the whole rim, but in this case, just this one that I've replaced, I need to do it just for the one. Another thing that I didn't do in the video was to make sure before tightening, that was my mistake, before tightening it's better to align it here at the elbow, those that come from the outer side. Those that come from the inner side don't have such a big bend, so taking a step back just to be thorough, so I will release some tension here, make it be slack, okay, without unscrewing it completely so that it unscrews, and I will just use my finger to press it against here so that it doesn't have a non-permanent turn here like this and to have a tendency to come back, because then it fatigues. But I want to make it perma bent at the elbow to follow this route, which is more acute when the spoke is coming from the outside as opposed to coming from the inside, because this one inside doesn't have that much of a bend, but to come all the way from the outside it needs extra bend here. So that's what I'm trying to accommodate for here. So I will use, you can use a rubber mallet to hit it here, but this works pretty well, so I don't see it having the tendency to move out of the way too much. So just get it there. That should be enough. Hopefully I didn't overdo it. And so now back to the drawing board. So it always happens when you're recording that things turn out badly and that you don't have luck and similar. So in this case I'm super happy. Let me try to get some light. Maybe add just a bit more tension. So hope you can see the spoke twist if there is any. That's another thing that I mentioned in the other videos, but why not show it here? So as I'm tightening, you will see this turn along with the spoke, maybe if there is some twist. So let's try to tighten this by 1/4 of a turn, and you can see it did bend by 1/16 of a turn, and then it stopped. Then I am further after that continuing to turn the nipple, but that first initial thing did bring to some spoke twist. And so I've just done a bit over 1/4 of a turn, and now I will just get it back a bit to untwist the spoke. That's a good idea, because if you don't do that when you're building a wheel or truing it, it will start happening when you apply some torque and some spokes get looser, and then you will hear a wheel do ping ping small sounds as you're riding, and that means, among other things, either your spokes are all breaking or you didn't unwind the spokes and they are doing it as you are riding. So that's basically it, and I hope this helps you and gives you some idea of how to fix this for yourself. And also, if you are considering to take a wheel to a bicycle mechanic, I repeat this for thousands of times to people, so hope this video will help educate about whether it is worth to you do it yourself or pay someone else to replace a broken spoke. Sometimes it's not worth it if the wheel is problematic, and you can reasonably expect more spokes to be already near fatigue breaking. You will just be perpetually replacing one spoke at a time, and in that case it's better if the rim is okay and the hub is okay, then just get new spokes and rebuild the wheel and do it properly, we'll build it well with equal spoke tension and everything. So that's the whole video. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. If you have any questions, or especially if you have any corrections, please use the BikeGremlin.net forum. And that's the whole video. Thank you very much if you sat through all this, or even if not, if you use the table of contents to skip to the parts of interest. So that's it. Hope it's better than my first videos with worse lighting, worse audio and camera. Also, I'm trying hard to make the videos be more easy to transfer knowledge, so that you can get the information you need in an easy to follow way, easy to understand, easy to see and hear, and everything that's needed. And if you have also any additional suggestions, please let me know. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in some other video. Cheers, stay cool.